Hello, all my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach, and it's Friday, so you know what that means. It's Friday Fun Day. So, what we're going to do today is make these lovely 3-layer Scrap Happy flowers. And the reason I wanted to go ahead and make this flower is I designed it, I think 10 or 12, maybe even 15 years ago when I was designing a lot of dog sweaters. And I wanted some fun flowers to add to some sweaters for my Rosie Belle. And then last Monday, we did our Scrap Happy bucket hat. And I love this hat. It's one of my favorite hats to pop on and take my dogs for a walk. Or if it's a little bit windy and I just want to be outside working with some of my plants. I'm getting real excited to get busy in the garden at our new house. And this is the perfect hat for that. And of course, if you want this pattern, I'll put that link down in the notes underneath the video for the Scrap Happy hat. If you want that pattern, you can just click on that link and it'll shoot right over there. All right, but what we're going to do today is the flower. And you can see you can put it on a hat, on a shirt. I like to put them on my cardigans as well, just to add an extra pop of color. You can make them in a solid color like this one. Isn't that pretty? That would look beautiful on a sweater or maybe in your hair. You can make a bunch of them for decorations, but what we're going to do is we're going to make one similar to this today. We're going to use 3 different colors so you can see how to do it, because it's not a basic beginner pattern, but it's not super hard, and it's just learning where to put your chains so you have a row to add your new petals on. All right, and it's going to be 3 layers. And it's a super fun and easy flower with lots of fun and different ways to use it. And it's a great way to use up all those leftover little scraps and make something beautiful that you can wear and decorate with as well. Spring is coming. We want flowers all over the place, right? Alrighty, now this crochet pattern will be on the blog, and again, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So if you want to see the written pattern with pictures, it's there for you. To make some flowers, you just need to get in your yarn scraps and pull out some of your medium weight number 4 yarns. If you made your hat out of cotton, you can make your flower out of cotton. You can use acrylic, cotton, wool, whatever yarns you have on hand, and mix and match your colors and come up with some really fun and pretty flowers. And again, you can make them in solids. You can change colors every row like I did. This one I did 4 different colors: purple, yellow, green, and pink. This one I just did 3, where I used the green here on my last row of petals. And then this one I did them all the same color. So you can use whatever colors goes with what you're going to make it for. And this would look pretty with the solid one as well. It doesn't have to be all different colors. Like I said, so many different uses for this fun flower. Add it to anything you want to. It just takes a small amount of yarn, not even an ounce, I don't think. All medium weight number 4 yarns. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need a needle just for weaving in ends and your scissors. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this into a circle, so we'll put our tail of yarn over our hook and pull it through that loop. Snug that down and make that stay knot. Now, if you would prefer to use a different method for your circle, like a magic circle, that's totally fine. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 4. This chain 4 counts as our first double crochet, chain 1. Now we're going to double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to repeat this till we have a total of 10 double crochets, chain 1. All right, let's see how many I have. So we count our first, chain 4 is our first double crochet, chain 1. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to join to the third chain of that chain 4 with a slip stitch. Then we're going to slip stitch in that first chain 1 space. All right, I'm going to pull my hook out so my loop's just a little bit big, and I'm going to go to the back of my flower and I'm going to pull that string gently and try to close up that hole. All right, then we'll take our needle and we'll go ahead and weave this in. We're going to have a lot of weaving in to do if we change colors a lot, because we're bringing in different colors, and of course you're going to change colors and have to weave those in. And so I like to go ahead and get this one done so it's not in the way. But again, you can wait until the end of your flower to weave them all in if you want to. All right, so put my hook back in that loop. For row 1, we have 10 sets of double crochet, chain 1. Now we're going to bring in our color 2. So we're going to grab our new yarn and bring that in. And we're going to go ahead and cut off color 1. All right, so in this first chain 1 space, we're going to stitch a single crochet. Now we're going to go to the next chain 1 space and we're going to stitch a shell stitch. And for this pattern, our shell stitch on this row is 3 double crochets in the same space. So we'll stitch 3 double crochets in that next chain 1 space. So we have 3 double crochets and then a single crochet in that first chain 1 space. Now we'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch a single crochet. Now we'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch that shell stitch of 3 double crochets. Then we'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch a single crochet. Then we'll go to the next chain 1 space and stitch our shell stitch. And we'll continue to repeat this, alternating single crochets and the 3 double crochet shell stitch around. And you'll notice it's going to curl up a little bit. That's what we want it to do. All right, so I'm in my last chain 1 space, stitching my last shell stitch. I'm getting a little wound up in here. Let me get my ball of yarn out. I got too many balls of yarn in my container. There we go. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shell stitches and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets. We're going to join after our last shell stitch to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 4. Now we're going to be making chain 4 loops in order to have a place to put our second row of petals. So we're going to be working on the back side of our work. All right, so I've chained 4. I'm going to come over here to this single crochet and I'm going to slip stitch around it. So I'm going to go in and out, grab that loop and pull it through. I pulled it through all the way to my hook. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. I'll go to the next single crochet, put my hook in and come around it, grab that loop and pull it through, then pull it through the loop on my hook, and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and slip stitch around that single crochet. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm back where I started. I chained 4, and I'm going to join to that first slip stitch that we made, and I might be a little bit snug. As you saw, it was a little bit snug, just like that. All right, and then we're going to go in this first chain 4 and just stitch a slip stitch. All right, I'm going to cut off my yarn, and let's take a look at that. This is how it looks on the front. And then we go to the back, and you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain 4 loops, and that's where row 3 petals are going to be stitched. All right, so it looks like this on the back and this on the front. All right, so now we're going to grab our next color, bring that in. There we go, left kind of a long string there. And we're going to be stitching in this chain 4 loops all the way around. So we're in the chain 4 loop. We're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and now we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in this chain 4 loop. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to chain 2 and slip stitch in that same chain 4 loop. All right, so that's our first petal made. Now we're going to go to the next chain 4 loop. Slip stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, slip stitch in the same chain 4 loop, then go to the next one and slip stitch. And you can see now we have 2 petals that are made, and we'll repeat this. Chain 2, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and chain 2, slip stitch in the same chain 4 space, and then move to the next chain 4 space. Chain 2, 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, slip stitch in the same chain 4 space. So now we have one more petal to make. So we go in that last chain 4 space, slip stitch, chain 2, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then we'll go right back and slip stitch in that same space, and then we'll join to that first slip stitch of our first petal with a slip stitch. All right, and so now we have 5 petals made in our color 3. I think I said color 2. This is actually color 3 because we used the yellow, then we used the variegated, and then we used the purple. So now for row 5, we need to make those chain 4 loops again. All right, so we join to that slip stitch. We're going to chain 4. We're going to come over here, and in this slip stitch that we made, we're going to slip stitch and chain 4. because we want to add another set of chain 4 loops around so that we can add another row of petals. So we'll just slip stitch in between the next 2 petals, 2, 3, 4, and chain 4. And the place that you're putting this slip stitch is where you slip stitched in this petal and then you slip stitched in the next one, and there's that loop right there. And you're just going to go in those loops and slip stitch. Chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is the 5th, so I'm going to slip stitch in that slip stitch. Whoops, I went too far in the loop. There we go. There we go. And so now, let's move some of these strings out of the way because we need to do a little weaving in. So now you can see on the back of our flower that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain 4 loops where we can put our last row of petals. Now I was going to do my last row in yellow, but I decided that I really love this yarn with the speckles in it, and I'm going to do my last row in it. Alrighty, so I'm going to bring in my last color, snug that down, slip stitch in that chain 4 loop. We're going to chain 2. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in that chain 4 loop. And now we're going to stitch 2 triples. So we'll put 2 wraps. We'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over and go through the third 2. And then we'll stitch a second triple. We'll stitch a double crochet and chain 2. 1, 2. And slip stitch in that same chain 4 loop. Whoops. There we go. One more time. All right, let's go to our next chain 4 space and stitch another petal. So I slip stitch, chain 2, double crochet, 2 triples, there's 1, and 2, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. Now you can see that makes a little bit longer of a petal, so it peeks out behind the petal in front of it. Alrighty, now we'll go to the next. Chain 4 space, slip stitch, chain 2. You can see when I'm doing the loop, I sort of push that petal forward out of the way. Kind of helps. We've got strings everywhere and petals. All right, so now I'm going to double crochet those 2 triples, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. Now we'll go to the next one. We only have 2 more to do. Two triples, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. And now we'll do our last petal. Slip stitch, chain 2. There we go. Double crochet, 2 triples, double crochet, chain 2, and slip stitch. And now we're going to slip stitch in that first slip stitch of our first petal. And this is where you need to decide what you're going to do with your flower. Get those puckered up there. If you're going to sew it onto something, you're going to want to leave a long tail in order to sew it on. If you're going to use it as a pin, I like to use the safety pins that don't have the curl on the end, so the yarn doesn't get caught in there. You can also sew it onto a brooch pin, or you can just pin it on however that you want. I like the option to be able to just pin it on, and so what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and tie this off. But again, if you're going to sew this onto something, you can use a long tail of yarn to sew that on. All right, so I need to get my needle and weave in all these ends and tidy that up. And then our flower will be ready to be used. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with this yellow one. And just get my weaving in done. And I really like that I changed my mind on the petals on this, because I'm really, really loving the cupcake yarn here that we used. I might have to add this to my cupcake cowl. That would be super cute. All right, I'm going to keep weaving all these ends in, and I'll let you see it when it's all tidied up. So here's my flower that we just made. One thing you'll notice is that on the bottom it kind of pooches like this, and so what you want to do is you want to push the center in a little bit, and that's going to bring all those petals up and give it that neat 3D look that we're looking for. Wouldn't this be beautiful on a birthday card or a Mother's Day card? Or maybe make some of these for Mother's Day and give them out to all the people whom you love. It's just a great, fun, easy pattern, as long as you understand where to put those chain 4 so you have places to put your petals. It's a simple 5-petal flower with 3 layers. And I changed its name to the Scrap Happy 3-layer flower because it goes along with our Scrap Happy hat. What a fun and sweet little pattern that you can make and have lots of possibilities to give them to lots of people. They're great for Mother's Day cards, birthday cards, or just to give out as pins so people can wear them. I love them. There. Wouldn't that be beautiful around the top of a collar? Oh my goodness, isn't that gorgeous? You can embellish hats, blouses, whatever you want with this adorable 3D Scrap Happy 3-layer flower. Get in your scrap yarn. Make a bunch of these because they're very addictive to make because there's so many things that you can do with them. Well, that's our Friday Fun Day for today, and I'll see you next week for another fun edition to Friday Fun Day. Bye-bye now.